This is Conrad Layn here. Welcome to Layn Turo University. I'm going to go into detail if you should select a Turo insurance plan or commercial insurance plan. So let's dive right into it. So Turo insurance plans are these. There's a Turo 60 where you pay a $0 deductible. There's a Turo 75 where you pay a $250 deductible. There's a Turo 80 that you pay a $750 deductible. There's a Turo 85 that you pay a $1,625 deductible. And there's a Turo 90 where I'm currently at, because I'm a Turo host and I chose Turo 90, where you have a $2,500 deductible. Meaning if there's an accident that occurs or if a theft occurs, your deductible is $250, $2,500 deductible, where I'm very comfortable at, and I feel it's been the most profitable for me. But you do your own due diligence, you figure out if that's good for you, but that's what I've chosen so far. And again, I want to recap. This video is about if you should select a Turo insurance plan, a commercial policy, Turo insurance policy, or a commercial insurance policy. I'm not telling you what to pick or what not to pick. That's what I've chose so far. That was most profitable. I have considered becoming a Turo commercial host, and I might do that in the future, might not, I'm not sure. I've been doing a lot of research. I left a video below that I did a few weeks ago where it goes in deep detail on how to, basically a blueprint from A to Z on how to start, how to maintain, how to locate commercial insurance companies, because they're actually not the easiest to find and locate, and they might not even accept you, because oftentimes, and what I found online, most Turo hosts I watched their videos, I actually consider other people's perspectives. I haven't found one person, maybe I missed someone, but I haven't found one person that actually truly explains what a commercial policy really is. And oftentimes my advantage is that I have been insurance licensed for over 8 years, so that's maybe why I have more insight into it. It's not to toot my own horn. Most are more inclined to the Turo plan, and it's basically biased. I don't like that, because just because they don't understand the commercial side, they don't really give fair feedback. I want to have a more bipartisan approach. And again, yes, I am a Turo 90 host. Yes, it's the most profitable, and I consider commercial, and I chose at this point in time. I might change that and become a commercial host, but at this point it's most profitable for me being on the Turo 90 plan. That does not mean that I'm endorsing it. You should only pick the Turo 90. The commercial might be good for you, just depends if it fits your circumstances. It doesn't fit my circumstances at this time, but once the circumstances change, and if they do change, I will change it in a heartbeat. So I want to be fair. All the videos I found online have been about Turo hosts that are giving their fair opinion, but they don't really know much about the commercial side. So they only say what they know, which is the Turo insurance plan. They don't know how to actually, most times they don't know how to get money from customers. They don't know how to actually take care of it and be fully responsible without Turo holding their hand. And that's not an insult. I also am on the Turo 90, but I want to let you guys know the commercial side can offer a lot of fruits for your labor. It could be really build even more compounding wealth, but it's much more of the wild, wild west. You're gonna have much more responsibility, and that's where a lot of hosts are scared of. That's not the reason why I chose. It's not because I'm scared. It's because it's just more profitable. It makes sense for me to be on the Turo 90, but I want to give you a fair approach. So this is it, people. If you want to select to be a commercial host, know this and know this well. It becomes full responsibility on you. And that's where Turo comes in as a huge benefit, where they take care of that risk for you for the most part. For example, there's something we deal with called chargebacks. If you do a chargeback in business, that just simply means that the guest or customer doesn't agree with your bill or your charge. So they go through a dispute process to get resolution. And if they win, you lose that money. If you win, you get granted that money. At the end of the day, the bank makes that decision, but it's your job as the Turo commercial host to support as much evidence as possible. Turo goes through this all the time. There's something that you don't know about, more than likely. The reason I know is because I used to work for a banking institution. I was also HUD certified, and again, I've been insurance licensed for over 8 years. I'm also real estate licensed. I have licenses and credentials to prove and state what I'm saying. So I have a lot of unique experiences. So it's not a matter if you should pick one or the other, it's just what fits your circumstances. So again, if you're going to be a commercial host, you have to also consider getting commercial insurance. What most people don't know, and I haven't heard one Turo host besides myself mention this, and again, I have insurance license, so maybe that's why I see it that they know. You can't just go about and get commercial insurance like that. It's not easy. It's not just commercial insurance. You have to get rental car commercial insurance. My other video below that gives you the full blueprint goes over this. I'm not going to go and restate everything from that video. If you want to learn more about it, follow the video below. But it's just simply if you should pick Turo insurance or commercial insurance. Like I mentioned before, you have to get rental car commercial insurance, not just commercial insurance. Commercial insurance is simply just business car insurance that covers the vehicle for a business. but it does not grant you the option to rent it out. As soon as you rent it out, you void the coverage. It won't cover you if they're in an accident. So that's a waste of your money. You got to find a rental car insurance policy, which is not the easiest to find. It's very hard to find, actually, typically, and to cover this type of exposure. It's called an exposure and risk in insurance. You have to do this. If you don't do this, you'll be left holding the bag, and you'll owe debt because they're not going to cover you because you rented it out and made money, and the policy wasn't designed for that. So my best advice, and the video below goes in detail. I'm gonna give you a quick tip, but as it goes deeper, what you should do is go to your local rental car companies, start finding if they rent a car from them, and then now you know what rental car companies are in town. They're very private based, and a lot of times they only give you insurance coverage if you are a rental car company yourself. Oftentimes that's not always true. If you can find an insurance company that will make this exposure an exception for you, the exception to this exposure for you, you're fine. But oftentimes you have to become a rental car company, an LLC or S Corp or corporation. And S Corp is just elected, it's still a corporation, basically, and they honor that. They'll ask you for your articles of incorporation or articles of organization, and they'll also request a bond. Typically, a bond basically protects the people. It's not insurance. It's a fiduciary duty. Fiduciary meaning you basically are it's almost like taking an oath. You're basically ethical. Long story short, but the video below goes in deep detail. So you have a lot more responsibilities of what I'm explaining to you. I could go on and on and on, and the video below gives you an actual way to actually do it. Because again, I have considered, and I do consider becoming possibly a commercial host, but at this time, it does not fit my strategy. At this time, it fits my strategy to be a Turo 90 host, which is phenomenal. I have a $2,500 deductible. That might seem like it's steep, but based on the stats I've taken, I'm in a very good place where I'm okay. So, but besides that, so the goal is, now you have to ask yourself, should you do this or should you not do it? It really depends. Like I said, if you're going to become a commercial host, you got to do this then. Consider this strategy. Look, as you start growing, one car, fine. So oftentimes you start off with personal insurance typically. Most Turo people I've spoken with usually start off as a personal Turo host. They usually don't start off with as a company. Some do, but for the most part, the lion's share of people start off with one car, to grow maybe to two car, and et cetera, et cetera. When you start off with a personal insurance policy, it could become awfully expensive. It could be per car, depending on municipality, state, or city, or country. You'd be paying $100 per month, $200 per month, $150 per month per car. That becomes very expensive. So that becomes, what should I do first? Should I get personal insurance for each car? It becomes expensive. Or should I not cover them? Some people and some hosts I've been seeing that where they actually only have insurance for one car. But that could leave you open to liability if you only cover one car, even though it's covered your other car. Say you have 5 cars and you say, you know what, I don't want to pay for the other personal insurance because it's too expensive, so I'll use one car and everything, and I'll get full coverage on only one car. From having an insurance background, that's a huge liability and disservice to yourself, because what you do essentially is this. The problem is this: if you only have insurance on one car and don't cover other cars, as soon as you park them after the insurance job's over, and you drive that car, because the reason people do this, they have one insurance policy, because typically insurance companies will cover you if you drive another car. It's basically like a coverage that transfers. So yes, say if I get a car policy, a car insurance policy, and I drive your car or drive another car of mine, my insurance in theory is supposed to transfer to the other car temporarily while I'm in the car. But the problem is if you have a personal insurance policy, insurance companies have gotten very intelligent and smart, where if they feel that you are abusing that, they can actually void that too. So now you just open yourself up. So if you get in an accident in the other car that's not covered by your personal insurance policy, what can essentially happen is that when you go through a claim, say you're driving that car, say that guest drops it off, you drive the car and you're in an accident, someone hits you, or it's hit while it's outside after the trip's already ended, your Turo insurance won't cover it because the trip's over. Your personal insurance more than likely won't cover it because they understand you're abusing this. That's a huge problem. The way to get around this is a few different ways. Don't be that host, and I've seen actually 3 hosts, I'm not going to mention their names, and I think they give great content. So this isn't that I hate time a video, and I'm not perfect. I'm sure someone could look at my content and give me advice too, but just from having an insurance background in over 8 years, that's a bad strategy. And the reason that's a bad strategy, I'm not going to mention any names, that's 3 hosts I found online that release videos saying that they should do this, that hey, you know what, get full coverage on one car, and you know, if you drive your other car that doesn't have insurance on it, you're fine. That's not always true, because insurance companies can actually stop your coverage and they can cancel that or avoid it out and say, we're not going to cover this because we know what you're doing. Don't do that. The smarter way to do it is that, okay, if you're going to do that anyway, the first way, how about do this? How about this? First, get each insurance policy and just get liability only, people. Liability only is this. Don't get full coverage. Full coverage essentially is this, and that's just a coined term. It's not a real term in insurance. But for you guys, for a full coverage basically means you have comprehensive deductible and a collision deductible. Collision deductible essentially represents if you get in an accident, and that's it. It covers in an accident. Comprehensive is all other situations that can occur besides an accident, like if a tree falls on it, if it's zapped by electric from the sky, if someone sets it on fire, someone steals a car. That's comprehensive typically. So what I essentially recommend, if you're going to do that risky getting that risky exposure and only cover one of your cars with full coverage, and hope that if you get in an accident or something happens to your other car, that your car is covered. Which, if your car is stolen outside, you're not inside the car, it was stolen, so that means at the end of the day, it's not going to cover that other car anyway. So remember that if you have insurance only on one car and your car is stolen outside after a Turo booking, your car insurance that you have on yourself isn't going to cover that typically because you weren't in the car. This is for if you transfer your car, so that's a bad strategy. The smarter way to do it is that, do this, people. What you can do is, hey, look, you know what? I'm going to get liability on each car that I have 10 cars, right, or 20 cars, or whatever, and your fleet's growing. This is for especially if you're growing. I'm just get liability only. Fine. If you're gonna go that route anyway, I'm not recommending this, but if you're gonna go and just put one car, get one car insured and get full coverage, then you might as well do this and go an extra step and say, you know what? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get full coverage on this one car, but all the other cars at least liability only. If you at least do that, it does two things. First, however, while you transport that car, if you hit someone or hurt someone, you're at least covered. That's the first thing. And because it at least has its own individual policy. You're not trying to coin and base it off of the policy for the other car. Second, what it does is it allows your car to be protected at least at that minimum level. And then what you can go and do beyond that is get something called a standalone umbrella policy. So if you're in an accident and you only have liability only, you hurt someone or damage or bring pain to someone or hit someone, it's your fault. What you can essentially do at that point is you can actually have a standalone umbrella policy. An umbrella policy typically gives you coverage up to, say, 1 million, 2 million, sometimes even more. And this will protect you and give you additional liability coverage. So if you're sued, you're covered. That's what car insurance basically does. It gives you basically liability coverage if you're at fault. But if you get a liability only policy, which has probably lower limits to save money, which is fine, at least get a standalone umbrella policy. The reason it's called standalone is because most umbrella policies usually need a car policy. In California, typically speaking, not always true, but typically speaking, it's 250,000 to 500,000 liability coverage you have to have on your auto policy personally. So you want to get a standalone umbrella policy. Call your insurance company, ask them about standalone umbrella policies, ask them about those type of coverage so you can be protective. So, something will happen if you're driving another vehicle that doesn't have a policy, so that you don't get caught holding the bag and stuck holding the bag by only having one car covered and the other one's not covered. Not a smart idea. I don't recommend it. I'm not perfect, but from my experience, that's not it's not a good look. Contact your insurance company and let them know what you're doing. Be honest. Don't hide it from them, and be honest and get the answer. Don't just listen to me either. I'm just your friend on YouTube, but do your best to make sure to figure this out. Very, very important, people. Like, I've seen a lot of mistakes happen over the years I've been insured, and that's a huge mistake. And second, what you also want to consider is something called a basically a non-ownership auto policy. They come in different terms, but that's basically the policy. Call your car insurance company and ask them, do you guys offer non-owner insurance policies? And what that non-owner insurance policy is, this it's not very popular. This is secret, people. It's a policy you can actually purchase so that you can actually drive other vehicles. If you drive other vehicles, but you have a non-ownership policy, you're covered. You're basically covered. You can legally drive because you have insurance. You can drive any car you like. It follows you, though. It's not a traditional insurance policy, but it does not give you the deductible coverages, etc. It's a very bone dry, raw policy, but it at least gives you coverage and is a bit cheap in consideration to an actual policy, because again, it doesn't come with all the extra bells and whistles, but it allows you to transport your cars. So if you're an owner, get that. And what you want to do is, next and foremost, if you're growing your business, if you have multiple vehicles, start considering maybe talk to your own attorney, but don't just take my advice for it. Just give me my opinion, but consider putting your cars into an LLC or corporation. but speak with your own legal representative, figure that out yourself. I'm not making decisions. Again, this is up to you. I'm just giving you advice. Sorry, I'm just giving you opinions to help you with developing more advice so that you can actually get through this. But always speak with your own accountant, speak with your own attorney. I'm not your guy. I have no liability over that. I'm not telling you what to do and what not to do, just giving you another way. Consider that, so that now when you have a non-owner policy or you have a standalone umbrella policy, and when you're transporting these cars, you can actually do it that way. Or, okay, fine, you know, if I don't have if I'm driving one of my cars that was just dropped off by another Turo guest, and I'm driving this car now I'm covered. If I get in an accident, I'm covered with a standalone umbrella policy. I'm also covered because this car is in the business name, not in my name. So now when I use a non-owner policy, there's no conflict of interest. You want to always avoid conflict of interest. If at least, even if you own the car, but if at least it's a different entity, it makes it easier for the insurance company. They'll probably still help you, but you just want to increase your likelihood. Again, these are hacks that is very, very unorthodox. There's no real written book on how to do this. I'm just teaching you strategies on how to get smart with your business, but always speak with your insurance company and make sure they accept it. Ask them, be transparent, so you're not caught holding the bag and stuck holding the bag. Again, especially for the first option, where I think terrible advice is, in my opinion, is to actually get an insurance policy that's full coverage only on one car. And then at that point, what happens is, if you drive another one of your cars that's not covered, hoping that it covers that vehicle, terrible advice. And I'm saying this is terrible advice because also I'm speaking to states, countries, municipalities. It's not just the United States. It's not just Canada. It's not just the UK. It's not just India. It's not just the state, city. I'm talking to the world. So I can't just give you one piece of information that fits all for all, because every place is different. So I can't give you bad advice like that, because every state, city, and municipality, maybe in California you could do that, maybe in Texas you could do that, maybe in Hawaii you can do that, maybe in Florida you can do that, maybe in Ohio you can do that, but maybe in New York you can't do that, right? So, and maybe in Canada you can't do that, maybe in the UK you can do that, maybe in Australia you can do it. You don't want to give one piece of advice. So I'm not giving you a cookie cutter, I'm giving you a strategy on a way to think. Always speak with your insurance company, because they have the answers for your municipality and state. I'm a dude that lives in California. I'm going back and forth to Texas because I'm planning to open up another fleet out there. Don't just take my word for it. I only know from but what I do know is how to go about getting answers. Contact your insurance company, tell them what you've learned, and say, hey, do you have a standalone umbrella policy? If not, start looking for a standalone umbrella policy that covers and gives you additional liability coverage if you injure someone. And make sure it covers you if you injure someone in an accident. Make sure that, ask those questions. Again, if you're gonna be that Turo host who's gonna say, you know what, instead of paying for multiple insurance policies, I want to save money because $150 is too much, $200 is too much per month for each car, which I completely agree, but do it the right way though. If you're gonna do it that way, get one policy, and then we get one policy or whatever. What you want to do at that point is say, you know what, okay, I have one policy. If you are gonna only do that, put your cars into like a LLC or corporation, so at least when you drive those cars, there's not a conflict of interest, or not as a apparent conflict of interest. It's when an insurance company checks and say, hey, you own these cars and you actually own your car, why don't you have a policy on these cars? Then you'll say, oh, well, I thought that my insurance policy covers other cars when I'm in them. It's supposed to, but oftentimes insurance companies can say you're abusing this. So don't do that, or whatever. At least if you're gonna do that, at least speak with your attorney and put it into an LLC. Make sure those cars are owned by the LLC or corporation, so you can actually have a higher likelihood of that being successful. But that strategy, I don't agree with it. But if you're gonna do it that way, the next best tactic is try to consider putting just liability policies on them. At least they're not covered anyway, right? Put a liability policy so you can at least transport them. Liability policies are way cheaper than full coverage. That's way cheaper. That's typically, if you're paying $150, $200 for especially $150 for per car, liability is way cheaper than that. You'll be easy, could be paying maybe like $40, maybe $50 per car. It's way cheaper because you don't have all the bells and whistles. Consider that. How about that? That's a smarter strategy. Fine, have one car that has a full coverage and have the other car basically to do that. Oh, fine, do that. Or look into getting a non-ownership policy where you could drive vehicles and speak with your insurance company. Make sure it's all states, cities, municipalities are different. California is different than Texas. Texas is different than Hawaii. Hawaii is different than Miami. Hawaii is different than Florida. Always do your best. And that's the point I'm saying, is that at the end of the day, make sure, look into getting non-ownership policies where it doesn't require you to actually put a VIN number in. It's just basically an auto policy that allows you to transport other vehicles that you do not own, which is why it's called non-ownership insurance policies. Ask them about that. Next, always look at stand-alone umbrella policy. Most umbrella policies require you to have some type of homeowner's policy, a renter's policy, or they require you to have some type of underlying auto policy with a set amount of limits to avoid that you get a standalone umbrella policy to protect your risk. So if you're going to go commercial route, please do it the right way. And even this video, I didn't give all the answers. I'm just giving you a summary of what I've been doing research, looking at other videos on YouTube, reading it quite a bit. And most Turo hosts don't seem like they don't really know what they're talking about in regards to commercial. And it's fair because they're not commercial hosts. And I only know about the commercial side, the parts I know, because I've done a lot of research. Second, I have over 8 years of insurance experience. I'm insurance licensed as well. I'm also a real estate agent. I used to work for a banking institution as well. So I have a lot of unique perspectives that they don't have. And that's the only reason why I can say it's not because I'm smart, it's not because I'm better, it's not because I'm putting them down, I'm not being facetious, not being underhanded. I'm just trying to give good content. And I saw that a lot of Turo hosts that don't know about it, like actually talked about commercial side with not giving good content. They didn't give the perspective that was fair. They didn't teach how to get out of situations because they didn't know how to. So they say, you know what, I'd rather stay on the Turo 90 or Turo 85 because that's not a good answer. What about someone who says, you know, I'm okay with that, but I need more content? So the video below will go deep, blueprint style, on how to, from A to Z, if you want to open your company, if you don't want to open a company, if you want to start a commercial business or not. Video below. This video is really just meant to share some unfortunate opinions I found on YouTube that really left me with a distaste, saying that I want to create this video. And there's no, hey, I still respect the content creators. They did a great job in executing their beliefs, but sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And again, I've been insurance licensed for over 8 years. Commercial side can be definitely a great money making opportunity. You just have to know about going about it the right way. There is a huge way. Yes, you take more responsibility, but there's a lot more reward. And the way to do it, if you follow the video below, that I listed a blueprint for a commercial host, that's going to give you all the answers if you choose to do that. But again, do your own due diligence. I'm just your friend on YouTube. Don't try to litigate me or sue me. I'm just giving you my opinion. Love you guys. Like, subscribe, share. Conrad Layn out. Peace.